One.
Hello, my name is Ty J. Jenkins, and the book that I will be presenting today is My Antonia by Willa Cather. So, Willa Cather was born in 1873 in Virginia. She moved to Nebraska when she was 9 years old with her family. She graduated from the University of Nebraska where she studied journalism. She became a teacher for a little while and then moved to New York, which became an editor of the magazine called McClure. She won a Pulitzer Prize and she also won an American Academic of Arts and Letters Gold Medal in Fiction. One of her other famous works of art is The Song of the Lark, by Willa Cather. So what's the story about? The book is about is about a friendship between Jim Burden and Antonia Schmidt, who was an immigrant that came from Bohemia. It starts off when Jim is an orphan and none of his relatives want anything to do with him, so they send him to his grandparents, to live with his grandparents in Nebraska, and that's where their friendship begins. So the themes are man plus natural world, foreign, the others, society and classes, youth, suffering, love, and passivity. What was going on in this time was immigration. It happens during the book. Before 1840s, there were less than 10,000 immigrants that came to the U.S. per year, but between 1815s to 1860s, there was a dramatic increase. The immigrants that came to the area that settled in Nebraska were Norwegians, Germans, Russians, Moravians, and Bohemians, as in Antonia and her family. They lived in mill towns or urban cities. The political assumption was the Homestead Act, which basically encouraged the immigrants to come to America because it's mentioned in the book that how Mrs. Shimerda, Antonia's mother, came to think of the American West as a land of opportunity, and Shimerdas would be approximately 10 million people who immigrated to the U.S. between 1865 to 1890. And the book celebrates the very ethnic heritages in Nebraska because of the very different because it was home to many different immigrant families. During this During this time for philosophical argument, you show how my Antonia becomes thus the story of Antonia and not of Jim. She is the center figure of the novel and the person we are supposed to admire as much as Jim does. What is crucial to remember that Willa Cather, through her semi-autobiography through the character Jim, is writing of a man of a voice, though the base character of Antonia is on a real person that she knew during her Nebraska childhood, but she didn't decide to describe it through a female perspective. The social importance. The immigrant girls who lived on the families felt prejudice from the girls of the wealthy merchants, which because of the arising tension between the two and the racist attitudes that started to develop because of the immigrants who were taking up a large percent of the population. And it caused the Americans and the immigrants to have to learn how to live together in Nebraska. The aesthetic appeal. Cather's poetic and moving depiction of her perhaps the most famous and highly praised aspect of the novel. The landscape symbolizes a large idea of the human environment and settles in which person's lives and actions. You can tell that there's a strong relationship between the character Jim and the Nebraska landscape. You can tell that he's attached to the character because even after 20 years in New York, he still talks about the culture, the people, and the landscape the same. The quote I chose was, I was something that lay under the sun and felt it. Like the pumpkins, I did not want to be anything more. I was entirely happy. Perhaps we feel like that when we die, and become a part of something entire, whether it's the sun and air or goodness and knowledge. At any rate, that is happiness to be dissolved in something complete and great. When it comes to one, it becomes naturally asleep. This is the this is the quote that's used to describe the friendship between Antonia and Jim because they became friends instantly as soon as they met. And it shows how if something happened is how significant to the story that their friendship is and how significant Antonia was to Jim. Thank you.